Slayer! Hi, I'm Tom. Nearly every 40k faction has a large HQ model or a few characters to pick from. The only faction that doesn't really have this is the Drukhari, aka the Dark Eldar. Drukhari players just got a new codex, and they even had a character taken away, namely Urian Rakarth. In 40k lore, the leader of the Drukhari is no other than Asdrubael Vect, the King of Comora. Vect is one of the most interesting, sinister, vile, and intelligent beings in the whole of the 40k universe, which would make him a perfect choice for Games Workshop to turn into a model kit. Maybe next edition? He had a model release back in 2000, but it hasn't been updated since. And that kit is one of the most collectible out there, demanding huge eBay prices years later. I've always wanted one, but instead of buying one of these expensive kits, I decided to build my own. For cheaper. I'll be kitbashing him in this video using the Drukhari Tantalus from Forgeworld, and weirdly enough, a model from the Hedonites of Slaanesh kit from Age of Sigmar, Glutos or Scolion, the Lord of Gluttony. Also, at the time of launching this model is available on eBay, so check it out after the video. I'm not the first person to use a Tantalus to kitbash Vect. There's an awesome conversion guide on Fallout hobbies, which I wish I'd have seen before I started mine. The reason I'm using this Scolion, Lord of Gluttony, the Dark Eldar sort of have a Slaaneshi hint, don't they? So that's where Slaanesh came from, was born from the Eldar. The dais of destruction, which is what Vect rides on, is a throne, sort of slaves and spoils of war around him. I just love this throne piece. It's, yeah, just pure opulence. So it's a good starting point for the actual sort of throne and dais itself. And I just need some way to fix it to the Tantalus. Boop-de-bobbity-boop. So here, this is just the throne part, minus all the crew and the sort of ogre weird abominations that are pulling it along. Has all these statues built into it as well. It's sort of spiky. It definitely has some good vibes for Vect. And this awesome snake head, just, yeah, so eye-catching. And it'd be perfect as the basis for the throne. Also snakes and venom and poison, that's what the Drukhari are all about. Has all these, has like plates of chopped up hands and bits of humans that he's clearly been eating as well. It's very sinister. These sort of symbols on the floor, I was contemplating cutting off the symbols, but they will have crew on eventually and cover them up. And it would look a bit janky if I butchered them. So this is the basis for the main kitbash. So I'm going to build a sort of spiky bit of a throne to match the original artwork that will come up here around the snake head, which will be where Vect sits. I'm not going to use the sort of plumed umbrella sort of cover things. It looks too different. So I need to get the Tantalus built. Boop-de-bobbity-boop. So the Tantalus kit is famously terrible and warped, and yeah, the parts don't fit together. Mine wasn't that bad. I was quite lucky, but it does have these large gaps on the sides, which I did fill with green stuff. It's basically in two parts. It has the main body here and then a pilot sort of canopy as well. I want the dais to fit here, so the Glutos throne to fit here. It has all the sort of engines at the back here, and I want the dais to be raised enough to realistically not interfere with the propulsion engines. I think this will work. So this bit this is where the pilot would sit, it isn't going to be there anymore, so I sort of need to build a platform that I can attach the throne to. So I used this plasticard and sort of sculpted pieces to go in the gaps, and then super glued them in place when I'd got them to the right shape and size. And as you can see here, I've painted the bottom of the Tantalus black before I built it, just so it would be so hard to get paint into the bottom after you attach all the brass bits. So this is a sort of, yeah, like a stand, flat bit of stand, which I'm going to attach the throne to. And then I'm playing around with where I'm going to put this pilot canopy, and I think it best to fit on the back here. sort of elongates the model, makes it look even more grand and stretched out. And yeah, I was thinking about even putting it in the middle here as well. There's this large gap, but I think there at the back is the best choice. So on the underneath here, there's parts where the chariot wheels would go. So I've removed them because it'll just look silly. And there's 2 jet engines that go on the back here in these little notches here. So instead of putting them there, I've put them underneath the throne where I've removed these chariot wheel parts. And also, these statues just fit the Drukhari so well. It's like they sort of look like homunculus rack-looking things as well. Maybe they're actually living and just trapped inside the stone. I don't know. He has this weird teapot with kit with a skull that's bubbling and a chopped up hand. I think it's some eyeballs or testicles on it, and some cut off ears on a plate as well. So I'm going to kitbash Vect and put him on the stairs, looking down over the dais and the rest of the Tantalus. And I do have this little divot where Glutos would sit, but once Vect's on it, it'll be covered up. And I decided to use this vampire model from Warcry called the Crimson Court, and the model's called Goraf, the Enforcer. Pretty badass name. So in some of the, I think it's fan art or official art I've seen, I don't know the artist, but they've shown him with a staff with a skull on the top. I have these spare bits from, I think it's a sorcerer on Black Dragon from Age of Sigmar, and the top of it is just perfect to go on the top of the Gorath staff instead of this large mace. And then for Vect's head, so this Slaanesh head, which is from the Glutos kit, is almost perfect. In fact, I considered keeping it as it is because it's almost perfect. So I cut off Gorath's head and then cut away the back of the plume to go on the top of the neck. I also stabbed myself in the finger and had to seal it with super glue. Lol. In the original art for Vect, he has this long red plume of hair and then these spiky parts coming off of his helm. Almost a perfect match, but I think he has these 2 long thorny bits sticking out from the sides, which is so iconic to him, so I decided to add those. And I used the spare bit off a Reaver jet bike. So I cut 2 bits off of these and then removed some of the spiky bits off the helm and attached them to the side of his head. Boobity bobbity boop. And then sort of tidied it up with a bit of sprue goo and plastic glue. And then when I was happy with it, I attached it in place. And then for the throne back, I've got these bits off a Raider kit. I've just cut a part off them, glued 2 of them together, and that's where they're going to sit, either side of the Cobra or the Viper head. And because they're sort of attached, where they're attached in the middle is very thin, I was able to bend it to sort of wrap around the throne. And this, I think this just looks awesome. I then attached these, I've got these witches from, I think it's the Blood Rack kit, Age of Sigmar, just to attach some Drukhari arms to them. And in the original kit, Vect has 3 crew with heavy weapons. I think they're Dark Lancers. So I'm going to attach 3 gunners to the Tantalus as well. So then I attached the throne underneath, and I had to super glue it, and then I used some other spare bits off the rudder of the Raiders and sort of put them in to support it and hold it up as well. So you can see the little struts underneath there. So now I'm trying to work out where to put the crew, and I'll put some Cabalite leader on it as well. A pilot on the back, put all the sort of buttons to use it. I built these stairs as well, just using some spare bits of sprue. And then I added a few skulls and little bits here and there just to add an extra level of sinister to it. Boo-boo-boo-boo. This is what I finally decided on. So on the original, he has some incubi protecting him as well, like a bodyguard. So I attached 2 of those, and then I'm going to put the gunners on the bottom platform here behind the witches. So I'll still have 3 gunners, but they're further down. And at the front end here, so there is supposed to be a big sail, and I was thinking it's a bit too big, and it'll hit the weapons, and yeah, won't look as good. So this is the finished bit. I got it all primed, Zenithal black and white primer on it. And then these are the paints I used. So we've got Vallejo Model Color Dark Sea Blue, Vallejo Emerald, and then AK Interactive Mint Green. I used the paint scheme from Another Day Miniatures. So I'm going to deconstruct my Dais of Destruction. Boop. And then we're starting off with the Deep Sea Blue. So base coated all the models with this. As you can see, it's almost an exact match for Incubi Darkness. In fact, I think it is. I did 2 thin coats of that. There we go. I think the vampire look of these effect I think it just really adds to it. And I think his armor is unique in the lore as well. It's got ghost armor. So I'm going to use this spot highlight color here to just do a bit of the head, the chest, and the legs, sort of like a zenithal highlight. And again, I did 2 very thin coats of this. I'm using an airbrush, but you could easily do this without an airbrush. And that's it with the highlight on. It looks awesome already. And then, because I've got all these awesome armor plates, I'm then going to dry brush mint green over the top and do some edge highlights like this. So on the one on the left here, I've done a very light dry brush and done some edge highlighting as well. So use this Artus Opus brush. I've got affiliate links in the description to Element Games and Artus Opus if you want to buy anything. It helps me out. So very light dry brush over the panels. Anywhere where there's a raised panel or an edge of an armor, that's what I'm aiming for with the dry brush, just to give the side of it a highlight. There you go, just a like 30-second dry brush, and it's making the armor pop. And there you go. So that's the dry brush, and then I went over it with an edge highlight over a few panels as well, and that's the finished colour there. I then used Mephiston Red for all of the hair and sort of plumage and his cape. Added gold to the sort of spikes on the helm, and then I painted all the sort of skin loincloths white, and then went over them with Agrex Earthshade, some Reichland Fleshshade wash, and then highlighted them with Rakar Flesh as well. I'm using an oil wash. The reason for this is that it has a low surface tension. This means that the pigment will run into the recesses and leave all of the edge highlights clear and bright. If I did this with acrylic washes, it would leave tide marks all over the armour. Also, with oil wash, if you've applied too much, you can remove it by using white spirit and a cotton bud. But the aim of this is just to knock back the main green of the armour and make it darker. It also makes all the panels pop more by running into the recesses. So on the Tantalus body here, I'm going to put the oil wash into all of these recesses, all of these sort of tiles, all the carpet and cushions, all of the silver, all of the statues, and all the sort of domed decorative parts around the dais. Any sort of tide marks that are left with the oil wash, they're very limited. I go over it with a cotton bud and a bit of white spirit and clean it up. And with the sail, I've sprayed it red in the panels, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use it yet because it would be in the way of all the weapons. So after the oil wash, this is what the models look like. So you can tell the armour is a bit darker but all of the edge highlights are still crisp and clean. It also outlines all of the eyes and helmet grooves as well. Bibbidi bobbidi boo, here we go with the oil wash all over the dais. You can see it's made all of the sort of statues pop, all of the sort of domed relief around it as well. All the tiles, the carpet is a lot clearer. It's it's just a lot quicker and easier than using acrylic. Before applying this, I varnished the model with matte varnish. So this is where Vect will stand. And then I've been sent these TT Combat paints to try, and they are really good and really cheap. I'm going to cover them in another video later. So I'm going to use this trench mud to add sort of weathering all to the edges of the Tantalus. Vect is the leader of the Cabal of the Black Heart, and these here are the decals for that. These red decals with this iconography in as well are just generic ones that can be used on any models. This side of the decal sheet is all Cabals, the middle is Homunculus, and the right side is mainly Witch Cult. I still think it's amazing that in 2025, Games Workshop doesn't provide a guide for what these are. I had to use a website. So I'm using this makeup sponge, which I got from the pound shop, and some of this trench mud just to add a bit of weathering to the edges of the Tantalus. Just adds a bit of weathering and grime and makes it look like it's been used in battle as opposed to being pristine and super clean. Funnily enough, in this very heavy resin Forgeworld kit, Games Workshop sends you a normal flight stand, which doesn't fit it. So I built this base. This is the base from the Glutos kit, and I've just added rocks and stones to it and some sand, stacked up some cork board, and then I've bored a hole through the middle of it and stuck some brass rod into the Tantalus and super glued that as well. So there's no glue on this yet, I'm just testing the fit. So I'm just going to slide down the hole that I've bored into it, and it will stand up like this, much more stable. So painted the rim of the base black and just went over a few spray cans and stuff. And that is the flight stand that they provided. And that's the model finished. So let me know what you think of it in the comments. What would you do differently? What model would you use for Vect? Have you heard any rumours about a new one coming out as well? And as I said, if you want to own this, it is currently on eBay with a 99p start. If you want to support me further, please consider supporting me on Patreon. You get access to my Discord server and get to see behind the scenes of me creating these things. I also have affiliate links in the description below for Element Games. A thank you to my current Patreon supporters, you're absolute legends. And check out my other videos. Thank you, bye.